Welcome to Greek for a Week. We are looking at a few more verses this week in our current study of the book of First Thessalonians. And we're looking at the paragraph chapter 4, verses 1 through 8. And this week, verses 5 and 6 will be our discussion. There won't be much said about these two verses because we are basically again looking at a rather lengthy paragraph, 8 verses, and so Paul's continuing some of his thoughts in regard to the concept that he began in verse 1, which was his encouragement, his request to walk in such a way that they were pleasing God. So I don't want us to lose sight of that, even in the midst of looking at several verses. So let me go ahead and translate these verses and then we'll look at a few things. So Paul says, not in lustful passions, as or like even the Gentiles who do not know God, and that no one transgress and defraud his brother in the matter, because the Lord is the avenger in all these things, just as also we told you and we warned you. So recall verses 3 and 4, Paul's giving reasons again. He gives a reason in verse 3 why they are to please God, and that is, for this is the will of God, namely your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that, verse 4, each of you know how to possess your own vessel in sanctification and honor. Well, here in verse 5, he says, not in the lustful passion. In other words, he's giving further clarification of how they are to possess or how they are to acquire their own vessel. They're to do it positively in sanctification and honor, negatively not in the lustful passions. Probably the end there could be by the means of a passion. All right, so that end there, by the means of lustful passions, and then like or as, so it's a comparative term, like the Gentiles. And what is characteristic of the Gentiles is they do not know God. And what's interesting is the word know here is a perfect active participle, plural nominative neuter of oida. Again, the perfect concept here, the perfect tense form would indicate that these Gentiles are in the state of not knowing. They don't have a relationship with God. Then he goes down to verse 6 and he says that no one transgress. So here, this infinitive, which is negated by the may, then we have another infinitive here. The chi would join both of those infinitives. So how we would understand the function of one of them, we would understand the function of both of them. So both of them are present active infinitives, probably again either epexegetical or they could be purpose infinitives, very much like the infinitives in verse 3 and verse 4. So Paul again is providing these purpose infinitives so that they're continuing to understand the purpose behind pleasing God in their walk. This infinitive, which is interesting because you can use the word defraud. You could also say to wrong, to overstep one's boundaries or to trespass onto another's territory. So he's basically saying here, be careful how you walk with others. Of course, here's our causal marker, because. So why should we not transgress or defraud our brother? Because it's the Lord. He is the avenger, and all these things here. And then he ends with two verbs. These two verbs down here. Let me bracket them off. Both of them are first person plural aorist verbs, and he's again told them beforehand and warned them beforehand to be careful in these areas. So that's verses 5 and 6. We're going to look at verses 7 and 8 next week, and I believe verse 7 starts with a gar, so that'll provide us with the third reason as to why we should be pleasing to God in our walk. And then verse 8 will round out the paragraph. So we'll look at that 7 and 8 next week. Following week, we'll diagram it. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.